Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum. I'm your host Faisal Raza Khan and you are watching Foresight. Viewers, in today's rapidly evolving maritime landscape, Pakistan Navy is embracing cutting edge technologies to stay ahead of emerging threats and equally to harness economic opportunities for the entire nation. Recent inductions of modern Babar class Belgium corvettes, PNS Babar, the first of its class, an offshore patrol vessel, PNS Hunain, the third of its class, supplemented naval strategy to counter traditional and non-traditional threats in the Indian Ocean region and effectively prepare itself against expansionist designs of adversaries, maintain peace and stability at sea, and steer Pakistan's trade through regional crisis. We will discuss the significance of a strong navy in safeguarding Pakistan's maritime interests, sea lines of communications, and countering conventional and sub-conventional threats. We'll get insight into the recent and upcoming inductions of Babar class ships and remaining OPV PNS Yamama. We'll also examine the benefits of acquiring technology, collaborations with the foreign shipyards, the imperativeness of public-private partnerships in the defense industry, especially shipyards' growth for Pakistan's naval modernization and to enhance shipping industry. To talk on this very important subject, we have in our studios Mr. Vice Admiral retired Ahmed Saeed. He is the President, National Institute of Maritime Affairs. Most welcome to you, sir. Thank you very much. And with him, we are fortunate to have Vice Admiral retired Faisal Rasul Lodhi, the former Vice Chief of Naval Staff. Most welcome to you, sir. Thank you very much for sparing time and in studios.
Thank you very much. The privilege.
So my first question to you, Faisal sir, how much recent inductions are modern and technologically advanced and capable of executing wide range of operations across the entire threat spectrum? What kind of stealth capabilities, command and control systems, sensors, radars, weaponry are there at these warships?
Well, thank you very much once again for inviting me, and my felicitations to PTV World and yourself in particular for hosting and conducting these programs.
It's our pleasure, sir.
Yeah. These inductions, I think we talked about it in one of your last programs as well.
Yes.
These are part and parcel of a well-deliberated developmental strategy.
Definitely.
Being pursued by Pakistan Navy along with other armed forces for decades now. Central to this developmental strategy has been three main points. First, and the foremost has been the acquisition of force multipliers.
Definitely.
So what it implies is that you should buy a capability which should be able to create disproportionate effects when required. Second, you remember the history.
Yeah, definitely.
How many times we have been suffering from sanctions and unwarranted restrictions with regards to access to technology.
We don't want to have once again the broken Garcia class.
So this has been actually kind of a paradoxal situation.
Yes.
You want to acquire force multipliers,
obviously,
which will have better technology, but you invariably you were having difficulties in access to technologies. So that leads to the third point, which has been diversification of resources and sources. So if you see the inventory, especially of Pakistan Navy, you will find equipment and weapons and platforms of Western origin, of Chinese origin, now from the Turkey, and a blend of indigenization has been all along going on.
Definitely.
We also had a lot of French technologies, French submarines.
Yes.
So that has been pursued primarily with an objective that in case of restrictions and sanctions, at least one of those sources or two of those sources will remain open. And that has been the case in past as well. So these two ships are classic examples of those efforts. Miljam is Turkish origin. 4 ships. A contract was done in 2018. 2 were supposed to be built in Turkey. 2 will be built inshallah in Pakistan. We also have the design rights of these ships. Our teams have been involved in from design to construction level all along, with complete access to technology courtesy of our Turkish brothers. And the 5th ship, the work has already commenced. That will be the first Jinnah class frigate.
Yes.
Completely designed by our engineers and again constructed in Karachi Shipyard, inshallah, in times to come. What is the capability of this ship? It is compatible with a ship of this size in any modern navy at the moment, in all domains of warfare, starting from surface to air, and surface to subsurface. So it has missiles, it has torpedoes, it has state-of-the-art radars, electronic support measures. Special features, if you want me to highlight a little, of course it has a lot of ingredients which make it stealthy. When I say stealthy, a warship is designed to be stealthy because otherwise it is very vulnerable. It is 3,000 tons. It's a piece of steel lying in the ocean. The radars of enemy can pick it up from hundreds of kilometers. But when you use stealth techniques, which mainly relate to the design of the hull shape, and it is normally known as tumble home. The tumble home shape, what it means is that from the waterline, it narrows down up. So there is a scale and extent of this design which is used in modern ships, which means that the reflections from this hull get distracted. So the ship is picked up from a shorter range rather than a longer range. Okay. Just to give you an example, the US Zemwelt class, this most modern destroyer, it's about 40% bigger than the older Arleigh class which the US Navy operates, but it has a radar cross section like a fishing boat. So you will not be able to pick it up on your radar unless you go closer to like 10 to 15.
Means there are lots of techniques to be stealthy and all that,
yes.
But along with that, Navy is preferring some sort of smart and well maneuverable ships to have more agility and more performance rather than to be more exposed to the enemy.
Absolutely, yes. And also the firepower is exponential in these ships. As far as surface to air capability is concerned, it's a modern vertical launch system. We discussed in your last program also. Definitely. It gives that leverage to a ship to have more number of missiles, different types of weapons in the same launchers on a smaller platform. And the missile itself is also very contemporary. The technologies of surface to air missiles are also evolving.
Obviously.
So the one which we are inducting this time is certainly going to be better than many.
Definitely, you are absolutely right. Ahmed Saeed, what do you think that we have to prepare, how we have to prepare against the existing and emerging traditional and non-traditional threats? Because you are in National Institute of Maritime Affairs, you are heading this organization, very important in that sense. Because in Indian Ocean region, due to so-called net security provider, the Indo-Pacific strategy and the Indian expansionist design particularly, but also due to the Middle Eastern crisis, the emergence of the regional and extra-regional actors, obviously we have the Red Sea issue and lots of others in the Strait of Hormuz and Strait of Malacca. We have lots of, and whole of our trade is from these areas. So how do you see this entire spectrum, the threat spectrum which is evolving?
Thank you. Faisal Saab, as usual your question is very front loaded. In the military jargon we say it's a swarming attack. Okay. That means your one question is packed with a lot of small questions, but overall which I understand is it is related to the environment first. What we need to understand is global environment, then the regional environment, and then what are the options for Pakistan, and are we prepared for that? That is the last which you are asked for. So in the global environment, we start off from the dismemberment of the Soviet Union, that is 1991. In fact, then it was declared that the 21st century is the US century. That means US thought it to be uncontestable century for US and the West. But at the turnover of 2000, the China started emerging. So in the book, the last decade, the American strategists had said that we did not realize this emergence till 2010, and that was when they started with the pivot of Asia strategy, and then rebalancing Asia Pacific by Obama, followed by the 2015 was the BRA launch, and at the same time we see that they came up with the Indo-Pacific, they came up with the Asia Pacific strategy. But last, which is more aggressive, is 2012, 2022, where they launched the Indo-Pacific. And within the Indo-Pacific now, if you see their strategy, initially it was containment, then it went to contestation, and now they have gone into the confrontation. The new book, which was Return of the Great Powers by the Jim Shuto, he says that now this is the movement of 1939 for the West. That means one front is not working, and that is the era when Americans were not into the war till 1941. So once they came into play and two front wars started off, then the Japanese and the Germans, they started receding. So here as well, hinting at this time that now aggressive policies will be pursued now. Specifically those countries, those who are directly linked with the BRI, if you see within our region, they all are under stress, starting from Bangladesh, Maldives, Sri Lanka, Pakistan in itself. So this is actually a part of the bigger game. This is what my reading is. So in days to come, this contestation is likely to grow. And Pakistan having a long-standing strategic partnership with China, being our all-weather friend, and at the same time we having been part of CETO, and we have the greater export and import from the West also. So we will have to play a very balanced role.
Definitely, you are absolutely right on that front.
And in that one quotation, if I give you, that is of the Clausewitz. He talks of paradoxical trinity. So we in our area have three triangles which are working, which is the Pakistan-India-China relations, Pakistan-US-India relations, and India-China-US relations. So these three triangles needs to be understood well, so that we carve out our interest well within it.
Recently, just recently, India has launched its second nuclear submarine, INS Arighat, announced to build or acquire at least 24 new submarines till 2030. Additionally, having plans to build up at least 200 warships and 500 aircrafts by 2050. While 12 warships till December 2024 are going to be inducted in Indian Navy. So, do you not think that this will be a huge challenge for Pakistan? It's going to create a huge imbalance and a direct threat to the regional peace.
I think very rightly put across, but India has been on its political vision followed by a developmental strategy, that is Vision 2050. So according to that, they are developing their things. So this Arighat induction is in line with their strategy. That is that initially, if we see any country, he needs to develop his infrastructure for self-defense, then is for the offensive, then is for the area denial, and then is the area control, and then is the dominance. So once they foresee themselves as per their political leadership statements that they would be the, by 2050 they would be the third largest economy. So, compatible to that they are developing their military infrastructure. But having said that, the Arighat introduction into their fold is primarily to achieve a step further from the triad. That is gaining continuous at sea deterrence, CSAD, and that is 24/7 having one submarine at least at sea, and that you can do it once you have 3 to 4 SSBNs. So, perhaps that is the reason they have delayed the construction of their third aircraft carrier in favor of going for the third SSBN, which is S4 platform. So, of course, this is going to create a major imbalance in the region as far as Pakistan is concerned. But we need to understand the national objectives also. Our objectives are not hegemonic in design. Our objectives are as a responsible state of international community. We should live in peace with our other native countries. So, for that plus, but at the same time if aggression is invited, so we should be prepared, and we have been portraying this time and again starting from 48, 65, 71, the Kargil, and then now the Pulwama. So, in all these eras our forces have given a decisive battle to our adversary.
Your point well taken, sir. Your point well taken. Faisal, what kind of the weaponry, what we are talking about, you were talking about the surface to air anti-ship and anti-submarine weapons at the latest ships we have, including the 054 Alpha Papa. So, do you think that we are adequately ready to thwart any sort of misadventure or any sort of miscalculation? Because pertaining to the series of incident and accidents in the Indian Navy, it seems that even the BrahMos incident as well. So, it seems that there could be some sort of eventuality is going to be because we have to prepare for any sort of thing. So, that is going to, if such situation happens, we are ready for that.
In one line, Alhamdulillah, we are ready for all probabilities, all eventualities, all misadventures undertaken by anyone, not only the Indians.
Because I'm talking about in the context that even the US Navy and lots of other navies who have collaborated with the Indian Navy, they have the reports that Indian Navy has the training flaws. They are, I'm not talking about they are non-professional, but there are problems with the Indian Navy. That's why they have ships in their harbor and they are going to capsize. Then you have the submarines and you are just forgot to have closing the hatch and you lost the submarine. So, these are the problems with Indian Navy there. So, there could be some sort of eventualities in future. We have to be ready for that, really.
While I partially agree with you, I don't find it, ethically correct if I start saying, okay, they have this issue and they have that issue. That is, in the military terms, it is known as oversimplifying the threat. You want to threat reduction for your own convenience.
Okay.
So, I'll not do that. But what you just said, it has evidence in the history also. From 2008-9 time frame to I think in next 4 or 5 years, they had about 8 to 9 accidents. Admiral Ahmed Saeed will bear me out, and their chief of the naval staff had to resign.
Yes.
After 23 in 1 decade.
So number of accidents have been huge in Indian Navy. Reasons, best known to them, but apparently, yes, training, how do you maintain your platforms. But I was referring to what you were asking in your last question also. It has a linkage with that. Number again is an important factor, but it is not everything. So, being big does not necessarily mean strong.
Yes.
And being small does not necessarily mean weak.
You are absolutely right.
So, one has to, and that has been an effort by all the three armed forces and Navy including. That, as I said earlier, that induct force multipliers, indigenize as much as possible,
Yes.
diversify your sources. But over and above that, I think the human resources are strength. The training standards, the professional attitudes, and above all, I think the most important factor is the faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and faith in our cause.
Definitely.
And the historic evidence suggests that, let's say, if we are also operating submarines for like 50 years now, sir, and alhamdulillah, there have been virtually no major accident.
Yes.
And they had 8 or 9. So that reflects how you have been training your people. Even with the older platforms. Now, in the last episode after the Pulwama incident, there was a befitting reply by Pakistan Air Force on the very next day. And then for the subsequent 1 week or 10 days, there have been a lot of, hypes created politically by the Indians that we are going to reply and respond. And they were making attempts, they were making their evaluations also on the land front, in the air, and also
And
at sea.
as well. Yes.
And on the 4th of March, we saw
Yes.
a state-of-the-art, brand new submarine which tried to ingress into our waters, but it was caught red-handed, shall I say. And a submarine, Admiral Ahmed Saeed would bear me out.
And
he's
for
a
more than
submarine-
an hour.
For
More
more
than
than
an
an hour,
hour.
a
Yes.
submarine which is detected in enemy's water is actually like a sitting duck.
Definitely.
So it was only the policy of restraint by the government which the Navy followed at that time, and we let her go, giving a strong message. So even with the state-of-art brand new submarine, if you are not able to make that impact, no, I don't want to talk about it much, but in the same or similar time frame, our relatively older submarines were also deployed, possibly in areas which were not very friendly, and there was virtually no detection.
Would you like to say something?
Yeah,
on that?
just they say that understand the simplicity of the complexity.
Yes.
To
Yes.
give you one liner, losing 3 surface ships, 1 submarines in a span of 10 years is question.
Yes.
That means it is in peace. What will happen in the war? That needs to be seen by their strategists.
Definitely. Definitely.
So in the same breath, let me just conclude this part of discussion. Even in 1965, when the numerical difference was 1:3 or 4,
1:6.
the famous Dwarka operation.
Yes.
But what normally is not discussed is the submarine operations.
Yes.
By Pakistan Navy at that time.
Definitely.
We were the only.
By the way,
so-
we have discussed on 6th of September.
Okay.
Yes.
So, but what was the impact? That one submarine deployment and the entire fleet could not actually venture out.
Yes.
There was a lot of criticism in the Indian media, press media at that time, that it's like a white elephant that we are having this aircraft carrier and big ships because they did not venture out when the chips were down. Some say that the white elephant continues to persist. So what we saw even in the post-Pulwama episode, that submarine was
And by
caught.
the way, now they
Submarine
have,
was
they have
caught.
at least
The
two
two,
and-
the 2 aircraft carriers along with the whole lot of big and new ships, they did not and could not venture out at sea and tried to create
And
any
most
impact.
and most of the maritime or the naval strategists in Pakistan, they say that we want that their aircraft carriers must have to become so that we see that how the aircraft carrier actually operates. So the thing is that it is definitely, if you don't have
On
the
the,
training, it
on the
means that-
serious note, aircraft carrier, we want it to be out because
Yes.
it has its own limitations also.
Obviously,
It has its own
obviously.
vulnerabilities also.
Obviously. So, Pakistan's surface fleet modernization acquisitions are continued. We have witnessed the transfer of technology right from F-22P Zulfikar class frigates to Babur class Belgium corvettes. So, what's the benefit of acquiring this technology? As you were mentioning about that we have the design rights and all others, whether it's going to supplement this Jinnah class project, as you have said that indigenously we have designed it, and now we are going into the phase that soon it is going to be a reality in coming years and so.
You see, learning from past experiences, this time it was planned in a more meticulous manner, shall I say.
Okay.
So, during the design process and the construction of the 4 Miljam, the Pakistani engineer teams are part and parcel of the Turkish teams.
Okay.
So they have been, learning to design this kind of a ship, and then of course learning to construct in shipyard, first in Turkey and then in shipyard, Karachi Shipyard. At the end of the 4th ship's construction, we are expecting that our teams will be well capable and experienced enough to be able to design and construct a ship of our own.
Means that we are not only constructing these Miljam corvettes, but also the on-job training is also going on.
Absolutely.
And that will give us the real human resource to build the Junag class frigates.
And this is not the first time we are doing it.
Yes.
We did it before with the missile craft, which were of the Chinese origin. And about a couple of years back, a manifestation was in the form of a purely Pakistani designed missile boat, Pakistani constructed missile boat, now which is in the service.
Yes, definitely.
So, 2 major advantages of this entire, in fact 3 major advantages of this entire effort. One is the self-reliance, of course, it goes without saying. Second is that it cuts the cost. If not in the first production, then in the second or third, and when you do a series production of it cuts the cost. Third is that it opens the window for the export potential as well. We have partner nations, many in GCC, who are willing to collaborate with us. There have been some discussions with some of the partners as well, and I'm hopeful that inshallah things will move in that direction.
Inshallah, inshallah. Admiral Ahmed Saeed sir, what do you think about the Karachi Shipyard and engineering works? Urgent needs, the necessity of the most modern and advanced machines. We have seen the ship lift and transfer facility earlier. The automated robotic systems, we need state-of-the-art facilities for the modern ship construction, the safety features and equipments. Do you not think that this is an important factor? If we get pace on that front, the shipyard can work more efficiently, and not only building the warships, but also the commercial ships of huge tonnage into the shipyard. Do you think that we have the capacity, and what about the Gawada shipyard? Do we have some movement on that as well?
I think on the shipyard side, I would start by saying it's a sad story. Why? Because the area in which we are, which is the Indus civilization. So 3000 BCE, this area used to be hub of making the boats and sail ships.
Yes.
So we lost that touch, which was in our...
We still have the legacy of wooden trawlers and all that. We are building those.
But when it comes to 1947, the Qaid-e-Azam at that time, while meeting the ship owners, he categorically said that we need 100 ship fleet. So for that we need the shipyards. So ironically today, after 75 or 76 years, today is the 77th year is on, we have 1 shipyard.
Yes.
As we compared with Bangladesh, Bangladesh has over 50 shipyards. If we compare it with India, it has 27 shipyards. If we compare it with China, because China got independence after us, so they have 1300 shipyards. So if we compare with the ships, the Bangladesh has around 310, around 800 is with the India, and again around 13,000 and plus is with the China. So this is a realization of how the nation realizes the potential of the maritime sector.
Definitely.
Average, the countries, those who are developing at fast pace, their contribution is 10% of the GDP. Like for China, it is $1.6 trillion. For India, it is about 6%, and again 5% for the Bangladesh. But ironically, we have 0.03% of
and
the
this
total.
is very unfortunate.
Whereas we have a potential of $100 billion potential. So coming back to your questions, of course, we should have had at least minimum 10 to 20 shipyards working at this moment. Karachi Shipyard has its own problems in a way that geographical location is inside, where
And
the
definitely it has not much space to expand as well. Number one. The second is that it is congested within the city. Though there are lots of modifications done, but huge tonnage ships would be a question mark. So
up to 26,000 ton we can have it. Whereas now the world over it is more than 200,000 tonnage ships are being made.
and literally speaking, I have visited thrice the Karachi Shipyard and Engineering Works. That is overburdened as well, because they have lots of orders, but most of the times they have to just go away with orders because they are not able to do all that. Although they have the conviction to do it, but they are not, unfortunately, because of the facilities not available. So, Faisal, how, as Admiral Saeed Sahab rightly pointed out about the shipyard, how naval modernization contribute to national economy? Because that is very important, especially the maritime or blue economy, which Admiral Sahab was saying. Supplement Navy's efforts to have sustained maritime patrol. We have the law enforcement, the protection of our interests, extended exclusive economic zone, and the seabed resources. So these are the important areas which Navy, the Maritime, Pakistan Maritime Security Agency, and all others have to contribute to safeguard. So how it is actually boosting our trade and economy and to safeguard our resources at sea?
That's a very intelligent question, shall I say. To me, it has two parts. First is, of course, the maritime security part, law enforcement, protection of shipping. The role of war, the role during war is already there, you know, we have talked about.
Obviously.
Pakistan is blessed with 200 nautical mile of easy, as you know, 240,000 square kilometers. And with very considered efforts in 2015, we managed to annex legally 50,000 square kilometers more. This spearheaded by Pakistan Navy at that time, and along with very brilliant efforts by our scientists from NIO. For 5 years they contested this in United Nations, and that's how we were able to get. So now legally we have 290,000 square kilometers in sea.
Yes, we have.
It's larger than any of the province at land, rightly said by some that it is the largest province. Sea is the largest province of Pakistan.
No doubt about that. No doubt about that.
But the point is, that's not having the land and having it in your name is not enough. We have to have a very deliberate and comprehensive policy and strategy to be able to maximize the potential benefits from this huge area. Blue economy, as we all know, it's the sustainable exploitation and use of the economic resources related to ocean. And it has a whole spectrum of resources. Our sea is also enriched with all of them, you know.
Faisal, we have run short of time, so if I'll ask a question to have brief answer. How much imperative the public-private partnership in supplementing the defense industrial growth, the naval modernization and expansion efforts, along with that, why not the private sector shipyards and investments not encouraged in our country, especially in terms of enhancing design, manufacturing, production, the integration work and all that. So why not to have private sector involved in this area, because that is going to be the real boost to the industry.
Absolutely right. This is the way to go, and there have been recently some efforts to invite and encourage the private sector to. They have this issue of, you know, lesser economy of scale when they invest, especially in the defense technologies and also in the remaining maritime industry. A couple of years back, Navy in coordination with MoMA, we hosted the first PIMEC.
PIMEC, yes.
And the theme was this, what you were talking about, you know, we tried to provide
and
a
we are going to host another
we tried to provide a platform where, you know, the civil industry, even foreigners and local both, they were sitting on the table along with the government agencies to discuss these issues, and there were some encouraging MOUs.
That's very good. That's very good. So, Admiral Ahmed Saeed, last question. How is the Chinese, Turkish and the Western technology and expertise combined with Pakistan's experience of operating manufacturing variety of combat platforms, as rightly said by Faisal Saab, can contribute to naval fleet modernization, particularly to further enhance the indigenous production of the most modern vessels, including the submarines?
The new era is of technology intensive. New technologies are coming up. So if you have your capacity to cope up with the technology, yes. If you don't have, then you have to go into the alliances. You have to go into joint ventures. I think these joint ventures which we are undertaking with the Turkey, with the China, they are helping us with the transfer of technology, acquiring those technologies which at the moment we don't have, getting the training, getting the wherewithal. Like 3D printing, we don't have the autonomous robotics in our construction yards. So these kind of things are coming up with that. So
Definitely.
it is a capacity building in a way that it will propel us into the new era of indigenization our capability.
Definitely, you are absolutely right. Thank you very much, Vice Admiral Retired Ahmed Saeed Saab, for being here in the studios. Thank you very much, Vice Admiral Retired Faisal Rasul Lodhi Saab, for your presence in the studios. Thank you very much, and very well thought, very well crafted response. So nice of you. Viewers, as you have just listened to our panelists, it is inevitable that to have a continued naval modernization and at fast pace, not only to solidify the country's defense, but also to bolster national economy, and particularly through trade. We have to modernize our shipyards, bring the latest technologies, the state of the art, robotics and all other technologies which are required to have in the shipyard, and obviously the public-private partnership that is necessary and a backbone for the shipping industry, particularly the shipbuilding industry, and not only in isolation, the ship recycling industry as well. We have to grow our shipbuilding industry, subsequently increase the warship construction and also the commercial shipping to bring the foreign exchange, the precious foreign exchange for our economy, to run and build our economy, to give strength to our economy, and rapid defense production is necessary because that is going to contribute as well the defense through defense exports. Then Indian induction and expansionist designs are a real worry for whole of the region, not only for Pakistan, because it is challenging the regional security and stability, but Pakistan is ready to thwart any sort of misadventure from any adversary from any side. So we have to believe in our armed forces, and particularly Pakistan Navy, because Pakistan Navy is always geared up. Its training, its capacity, its assets, these are all employed there to safeguard Pakistan's maritime frontiers. And we don't have the hegemonic designs, but whenever there would be any sort of a misadventure, Pakistan is always ready to thwart that. Along with that, when we are talking about the shipyards, as our panelists said, that this is a sad story and we have to convert into a real-time hopeful story by emphasizing on more shipyards, particularly the Gwadar shipyard. That must have to be a reality if we want to grow into the maritime economy and reach to the blue economy. So this is today's Foresight. It's time to sign off. Allah Hafiz.